There will be no day 7 training camp observations because it was just a walkthrough. I myself had to work this morning unexpectedly, and it was not a lot that went on. I looked at Tim Twentyman's observations, and it really wasn't anything there that honestly warranted making a video. So we're going to go in a different direction today. Hopefully tomorrow we will get back up and these guys will be back to pads. They didn't even wear pads today, so hopefully we can get back to it tomorrow if we don't get rained out, man, because I did see there's a chance of thunderstorms or something like that. Hopefully they are later in the day. So I'm going to forewarn you guys, which is probably a bad idea because you'll know what every video is going to be about, but that's okay. You should know me by now. Today is going to be the day of the DE. Like every video that's going to come out, except one potentially near the end of the day. It's going to be talking about specifically defensive line, whether it's something they said, whether it's somebody we can bring in, or in this case, Matthew Betts and James Houston, what Dan Campbell had to say during his press conference. Now, we know that Matthew Betts is coming from the CFL, where he predominantly rushed the passer, got 18 sacks in 18 games, and won Defensive Player of the Year. Comes to the Detroit Lions, kind of excels at rushing the passer, so they added something to his plate, some Sam linebacker roles. And Dan Campbell today said something intriguing. Let's check it out. This is coming from the Detroit Lions YouTube channel. Here's what Dan Campbell had to say, not only about Matthew Betts, but James Houston as well. We'll talk about both of these guys after the clip. Let's go.
Dan, what have you seen from Betts vis-a-vis the transformation from CFL? Is that a difficult thing for him to do?
Betts had a good spring, and we were excited to see him at the Sam position. You know, that was not what we first thought of with him. It was more just kind of edge, the rush defensive end, and so we threw a lot at him at the Sam, and you know he started off pretty good, and then you know there's a lot in there, and as the install goes, it's a new position. Then I think he's playing a little bit slower than we would like. So we're going to take some of that off his plate before we start him back up in there a little bit and just let him get his feet back under him. And I can't say that I'm surprised with that. I mean, it is. It's totally new. And he's a good athlete, you know, out in space. So, man, he's working at it. He's getting better. And we're going to dial a little bit back and get him to where he gets his confidence back up.
Into that with Betts and a guy like Houston too, where you know the premium skill set is their ability to rush the passer, and you can plug him in there and you're going to get that. Why is it important, can you just explain that, to develop a bigger role for them or to test them as opposed to just locking in on something that they're really good at?
Yeah, it's ultimately it's about who's going to the game. You know, and so right now you're developing, you want to, but I think you're also, to me, I'm always looking out at the 46 too. And it's like, all right, does he make the team? Great. Okay, well, if he does make the team, is he ever going to the game? You know, because that has a little bit to do with it as well. And so, man, the more you can do, if he can play the Sam linebacker or certainly a backup linebacker, and he can rush as a defensive end, and he can play some special teams, well, he's a lock to go to the game. Like, there is no question. But if you're a one-trick pony and you're okay at that, but you really can't do this, and you're not really playing special teams, then, you know, what do we do with him? You know, then he's just a backup that's not going to the game. We're going to hope that, you know, well, you got him if somebody gets hurt, and then is it good enough? So it's always going to be that way. The more you can do, your value goes up.
And Dan Campbell proceeds to exit the podium at that point. So it's a couple things that I heard is that, and it echoes my sentiment when I went to training camp Monday. The first thing I noticed was how slow Matthew Betts looked. He looked slower. That's why I said, if you go back and you watch, I said these guys are bigger in person, but he looked slower. Maybe because he had too much on his plate, but they said he was doing extremely well, so they fed him more, but he's starting to play slower, so they're dialing it back. Maybe they'll still add some Sam linebacker role stuff to his plate, but they want him to be able to grasp, you know, come along at the pace that's good for him so that he can have a legit shot at making the team. Now, those sentiments also apply to James Houston. One thing that I noticed that he said about James Houston, asked about James Houston, and both of these guys, the same thing applies. But the latter part of his comments about being a one-trick pony, I'm not saying he was talking about James Houston. He was just speaking is that if you are a one-trick pony, your odds of making the team decrease much more than if you have any value on special teams or you can do more. So we saw them last year. As a matter of fact, I thought James Houston got hurt on a special teams play, but we did see him in coverage, which last year he was terrible, the brief time that he was in coverage. So if James Houston, or Matthew Betts for that matter, I truly believe, and if you go back and you watch my video from training camp, day 6 observations, or day 5, the day I went, I said Houston versus Betts is going to be something to keep an eye out for. Because now, based on Dan Campbell's comments, I'm legitimately wondering, and it's going to blow your mind, which one of them makes the team? Do they both make the team? Do one of them make the team, or do neither make the team? Because I know y'all love James Houston. I know you do. I'm not the coach. I'm just a dude sitting in his basement talking about his favorite team. But from what Dan Campbell said on the podium just now during the press conference, okay, you have to bring some value outside of being a situational pass rusher. You gotta bring the value. Maybe that's why Yannick Ngakoue is not on this team. Maybe that's why the Detroit Lions have not brought in a edge rusher that is terrible against the run, or if you can, a one-trick pony. Now, not to say that they won't do that later, because we know we brought in Tyson Alu, we brought in Bruce Irvin to do exclusively that, rush the passer. So maybe that's something later if the Detroit Lions figured they need some help in that area. But the question that I put before you is, which one of these guys will make the team? Because based on those comments, I'm figuring like whichever one balls out in camp is the one that makes the team. I have a sneaking suspicion that they both don't make it. It's going to be one or the other. Now, somebody brought out a point to me today about James Houston being the draft pick, so he might have a little bit of a leg up on Matthew Betts. And I would have agreed with that a year ago, but I don't agree with that now. Why? Because the team is much better than it was last year, in year 2, in year 3. Chase Lucas, our second year, 7th round pick, wind up taking the option because he wants to play, I guess, wants more of an opportunity. So he was the first draft pick not to be on the Detroit Lions. So he wind up taking a deal with the San Francisco 49ers. In my opinion, this year, Jamar Jefferson, we have seen the last of him on our team. He's another 7th round pick from year 1 that will no longer be on this team. Malcolm Rodriguez, James Houston went from stars in 2022 to a lesser role in 2023. So that simply means that the team has gotten better, that these guys' value has decreased because the team is better at those positions. So I think that there's a good chance that only one of these guys make the team. I think it's an outside shot, especially if we don't bring anybody in, that they both get cut. One of them may or may not go on the practice squad. But I think based on Dan Campbell's comments, Matthew Betts, James Houston, that's going to be a good thing to watch. Whichever one shows more value all around, whichever one is more versatile, will stay on this team. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think they both make the team, neither makes the team, or one or the other makes the team? And if so, who is it going to be? Marcus Houston, a.k.a. James Houston, or Matthew Betts? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. We are on a push to 21.3K, and I would appreciate if you subscribe. We've got preseason football a week from tomorrow, which is insane. The live streams will be coming back. I am excited to watch some Detroit Lions football, man. You guys are awesome. This channel is brought to you by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. Take care of yourself and each other, and as always, go Lions. And if you missed my community post from yesterday, the track that plays at the end of this is called No Ice by Dylan Sitz. You can find it on YouTube or on Apple Music. You guys are awesome, man. Take care. I'll see you real soon.